I'm Joshua Hayward, and thanks for joining me for life readings this week in the stars and cards. And let me extend an invitation to you to join me each week as I explore all the possibilities and the challenges and the opportunities for inward growth and outward effectiveness. And this is brought to you by Breath of Life School in Yellow Springs, Ohio, and many blessings. Enjoy. Back in mythological times, way long ago, there was a creature, sort of a half man, half horse, or animal horse, okay? And Chiron was the name of this being who is now an asteroid. And we call this enlightened centaur, we call the wounded healer now. But back then, in the day, just to make a long story kind of short, Chiron actually gave up his immortality in order to save and unchain Prometheus from Hades, okay, who was chained there to have his liver gnawed on eternally by vultures. Prometheus brought fire to humanity, and he got caught up in a power play between Zeus and Hera. Okay, so Chiron, and in some tellings of the story, Hercules was in on this too. And they went down into Hades, and Chiron went down and sacrificed himself. Sort of for the greater good, okay? And so there, Chiron was forced to dwell. Well, not really forced, because he did this voluntarily. Sort of martyred or what have you, was willing. In some tellings of the story, Chiron was taken out of Hades and placed in the constellation of Sagittarius, where Chiron dwelt, until we began to sight the planet in the 70s. We sighted this asteroid, but there was really very little consequence. Chiron began to be used by astrologers, but Chiron really truly wasn't activated till the year 2000. And some astrologers, you might get some argumentation on this whole thing, but look at it from this perspective. Chiron gave up his life and was willing to come back, and in the year 2000 was rebirthed with that conjunction to Pluto. And it happened to be in the sign of Sagittarius, okay? So it's a beautiful story. It plays out really nicely. And when that happened, Pluto was at the 12 degrees and conjunct, 12 degrees of Sagittarius, and conjunct the United States ascendant. And so the rebirth into our consciousness in a big way happened right on the United States ascendant. All right, so Chiron is rebirthing and saying to the United States, we have a chance to change the vibration of this planet to a higher frequency. And instead, we had a very controversial election in which George W. Bush ended up kind of being the president, and Al Gore ended up sort of being martyred or sacrificed. I don't know. When you look at this conjunction of Pluto and Chiron on the United States ascendant, really, really very interesting. Okay, and we know what happened the next year. The United States, of course, did not move towards healing as Chiron began to move through the first house of the United States itself. What happened eventually in 2001, Saturn came around and conjuncted the descendant right opposite Pluto, and we ended up with 9/11 eventually. Okay, I mean not 9/11, but with the Iraq War subsequently. So Chiron kind of came back, and that healing, and maybe healing has just got to do with the perspective of individuals on the planet, because to me that was an epic fail in a way, not as a result of Chiron being inadequate, but as a result of human beings. But I don't want to get into that too much. But well, you're probably asking yourself, why Joshua? Why are you talking about all this stuff? This is in the past. This is an astrological update in the now. Okay, I have not forgotten that. But coming up at about 2:34, somewhere around there, 2:40 a.m. on the 4th of December, coming right up, we have the second eclipse. I just talked in recent episodes about the lunar eclipse that we had in Taurus. Now this one comes at 12 degrees, and so it's right at that point of the United States ascendant. Once again, we have the sun and the moon, and also we have Mercury there too. Now, of course, Chiron is, in Aries now, and so it's gone like a trine, 4 signs over since then. And it, of course, now in the sign of Aries, in the United States 4th house. Okay, so it's made a turn, and it's down more on the bottom of the chart. But hitting that point where Pluto was conjuncted by Chiron, the wounded healer in Sagittarius, comes this eclipse right on the United States ascendant once again. I think that we're looking at an opportunity to deal with what maybe didn't really get dealt with then. What happened was we were wounded by what's the shadow of Sagittarius? We were wounded by fanaticism, which, of course, our fanatically Western, pro so-called democracy, pro capitalism kind of stance can be interpreted by people in the Middle East as ideology, and we could see suicide bombers, and we could see the 9/11 as a fanatical ideological thing too. So we're back into that fanatical ideological thing. And so I don't think that this eclipse is just for the United States, but we're having such a difficult time right now with the fanatic beliefs. So my question is, fanaticism or truth? When you move into fanaticism, that extreme level doesn't generate the truth. What it's trying to do, what fanaticism is trying to do, it's trying to forcefully move the beliefs of the collective in a certain direction that is desired by those fanatic ideological people. Okay, so it's not truth. It's moving to what they conceive to be, or they perceive to be, truth. So now, I'm saying to us, what are we going to do? Okay, we looked at what do we really want to hold? Who do we want to be with the first eclipse? Now with the second eclipse, do we do we need or do we desire to shed our own fanaticism, our own ideological stances? And if we look deep in our heart of hearts, we'll notice that we have some beliefs that are unkind. They're unkind to other people. We hold on to beliefs that we psychologically and unconsciously feel they're going to bring us close to something that feels better. But it's just not true, because bad feelings in ideology just leads to more of that. I'm asking you to search your soul as we move towards this eclipse, and of course after, and to see what's there that you need to let go of, and to see what you could do to move into that frequency of love. Because love, that's the truth. So, fanaticism, ideology, or truth? Which one would you rather have? Which one would you rather embrace? And with going with the knowledge that the fanaticism, the ideology, won't ever get you there. And if you really think about it, you will see, if you honestly take a look, you will see that it will never get you there. It gives you this kind of an adrenaline type of feeling of righteous indignation. And you can recognize it in other people around you, but are you looking in the mirror and can you see yourself? Okay, I'm challenging you this week in life readings this week in the stars and cards. As we start the post-Thanksgiving, yes, we've moved into Thanksgiving, and now how can after we give thanks, how can we move forward into the truth? So here's a few cards for you today, all right? Okay, the first card, you know, in these readings each week, these updates, there are usually some really positive cards, and then there's some challenging cards. We get into the challenging card. Frustration, disappointment, the 5 of Cups. The cups are empty. Why do we feel that way? We're frustrated and we're disappointed with what the outer world is presenting us. It doesn't look like love. It doesn't look like kindness. Fanaticism and ideology has brought us to a place where nobody's really being served. It tries for control. Patriarchy really loves ideology because the ultimate in patriarchy is fear, and control is what's really desired with the patriarchy, and it just never is going to work. Control never works. What happens when you try to control something too much? You destroy it. Okay, and that's what's happening to the earth, and that's what's happening to our societies and cultures. You know, the things that we love about the earth. Okay, second card, and that is the 6 of Swords. The word attached to it or affixed to it is science, but science is kind of a charged word these days. I like co-creativity, and it's sort of the science of the mind that sees beyond the frustration. It sees that we can put our energies towards something good if we move away from that fanaticism. Okay, so co-creativity being really important. The next card is the warning of the futility. The 7 of Swords, the ideas. This is a positive swords card, mind card, and that 6 of Swords that we just saw. This one is coming back to the warning, and it's saying, wow, not only is there disappointment, there's futility in trying to advance our lives individually and through society, through fanaticism. It just isn't going to work. and it never has worked, and it won't work. And so here's the card that's calling us, well, what do we really want to do, in a way? We want to manifest something with a really positive idea, the Princess of Swords. 3 out of 4 cards being swords. A lot of mind stuff. And Sagittarius is very, very mental, remember. And Mercury is conjunct the eclipse, too. So very, mind, thinking, that kind of orientation. And so we can see on a negative side, we can see the struggle to try to manifest something positive failing. And so let's look at the positive side of this card and say we need to try to manifest something positive with thinking, moving beyond the ideological crap into something that's real. Let's manifest kindness. Let's manifest love. Let's manifest God on this planet. Let's open up our hearts to Christ consciousness. That's what we want. Here, we want that ascending energy. We want that rapturial type of energy, don't we? Yes. We want that freedom to be able to have wonderful lives, and in alignment with Spirit, in alignment with God. Okay, and we're seeing Mercury in the sign of Sagittarius in this card, which is happening in the eclipse. Swiftness, this is like the Tower card. That means something's happening. We're going to see some events out here in the world that, with that fanaticism. Yeah, when we see this, this Eight of Wands, like I said, sort of being a little bit like the Tower and that destabilizing force. It kind of means that there's a quickening of some energies to move forward. So with that Princess of Swords, it's really a good idea for us to decide how we want to manifest, what we really want our experience on Earth. What do you want? Do you want to live in that fanaticism, or do you want to change from that where you can have access to something different? Because we are moving into the age of Aquarius. Kind of remember that. We're moving into transcendent times. We're moving into the ascension or the rapture or divergence. These are some powerful words I've used before. So what's coming? Okay, then that we need to quicken with. Okay, and so the next card is the Devil card. Okay, they are very Saturnian. We're looking what's quickening is a real look and seeing what we're being trapped by. I don't think that the collective as a whole will all of a sudden see, oh, we're seeing this dawn. Okay, wow, like we're getting this. I don't really, unless Revelation is playing out like the rapture, which it could very well be. What I'm thinking, though, is this is you and me and people like us who are looking at our lives and seeing where we're mired and not living in Christ consciousness, and we need to set that energy free. And I really think that's what, while we still are here on the earth, I think that's what God would want from us, as we awaken that God force, that Christ consciousness within us. Okay, and so what's next with that? Because I wanted to pull another card or two, because the Devil card's a little bit difficult to end with. Let's try for something a little kinder, gentler, and I think that what's going on is it's setting the ability to be excellent, to go out there and to have our lives really move in manifesting something very excellent, which this card is capable of, the Knight of Wands. It's also, we could be setting free ourselves from the shadow of this card, which could be ideology being sort of put on us. But we want to free up those energies in a positive way. And I pulled 2 cards here to end with which to end, and that Knight came forward. Do you want to call up the positive possibilities within him? Do you want to have all your energy free when you release the ideological kind of stuff, it frees up your energy to move towards the life you want to live. And we end this week with the Queen of Cups, the Queen of Beauty. What do you want to birth out? What do you want to nurture? What is kind? What is love? Here we are with the Queen of Wands. With the Queen of Cups, and that's the very thing that we need, because that's the most beautiful, loving, nurturing energy that we can have as human beings. Okay, so that's it for this eclipse. That's how you can use that eclipse and use these few days that are building up towards that particular time. And remember that Neptune, I forgot to mention, Neptune actually is the planet of forgetfulness, so of course I forgot to mention it. Neptune is stationing 2 days before that on the 2nd. So we're really looking at, the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, all of those days being really, really potent with spiritual energy. Don't let anything confuse you. Stay in your heart. And if you seek the divine in all things, you will be blessed. This is Joshua Hayward saying, see you next time.